In this video, I'll be going over a potential app idea that transcripts your audio and gets you the text and summary fully fledged out for you. Now, this app was actually recommended by a user on Reddit, and they're asking would someone pay a small price of $5 for this small app. And basically, the app highlights the problem that manual transcription takes forever and that AI tools are getting expensive. And the solution is to upload audio, get text and summary, and it's fully done just for $5 a month. Now, would I actually build this app? No. However, not for the reasons you think. Let me first start off with a reason on why this is actually a valid idea in general. You see, there is already a problem highlighted here, right? It's manual transcription that takes forever and AI tools are getting too expensive. And one of the ways you can validate an idea is not only by searching for other people's problems, is by searching for your own problem. So if you have a problem like this, similar to having to deal with manual transcription or something of that sort, you'd be inclined to pay for this because it would solve your problem, right? All you have to do is pay $5 a month for audio that gets you that right text and summary fully done for you. The problem is how you would distribute this effectively in a space where I could go to Google and search app to transcribe audio to text, and you have a lot of singled out apps, specifically from the Play Store. And so you have stuff like Sonics. And so a lot of this comes down to SEO, because someone who typically has this problem right here, they're probably going to do the exact same thing I just did, search on Google and do something app to transcribe audio to text. This is more of a tool that you need in a hurry that you look for on Google with this new generative engine optimization, right? By this Google AI summary. And you get these ones, right? So the thing is, if you build this tool, it might get the job done. However, marketing this is going to be quite ineffective in a space that is very saturated, as well as SEO. You're not going to be the top rank. In fact, instead of the summary, we see that, this one takes the spot yaki.ai. And if you take a look at it, you can see that this subreddit is very deep, which is why this has taken the first spot on the place. However, Google doesn't even recommend it, actually, because people nowadays are going to be looking at this. Google doesn't even recommend it, and it uses Otter AI, Sonics, and Descript. So already proven tools that have been in the market for a long time. So because of that, I think that this is not really worth making. And what you should make instead is something like this. The solution, and what I think this Reddit user should do, is they should actually niche it down. You see, a lot of the market is currently targeting general transcription, stuff like a lot of these jargon text files. You get the audio and you get the text and summary. And so a lot of it is going to be for general use cases. But what if you could niche it down to something more specific and then become a leader of that sub-market within this bigger market of transcription tools? And so what I think should be done is we can go to research here, but we can go to ChatGPT and research our idea. Specifically, I'm going to ask it to do a web search, and I'm going to give it this one. Traditional. Awesome. So ChatGPT has given me some really good insight. So some niches we can do is post-transcription cleanup. You see, on the subreddit right here, ChatGPT is linking me from around 3 months ago, which is very deep and in-depth. It says that a user complains that raw transcripts are basically useless because you're still doing all the heavy lifting to make them coherent. I've been using Freed AI for clinical notes, and it actually structured everything properly from the start. Yeah, so everyone seems to complain about the post-pop process. And so ChatGPT, I think, has recommended me a pretty good idea where you take an AI that turns messy transcripts into decisions, action items, and summaries by topics, and clean speaker structure notes. You see, with current transcripts in old methods and traditional ways, you get audio and then you get text of what you said. However, this is just a sea of text. It is just so much text that you might even lose what the important parts of bits of information are. And so what we should do in our new niche is we should now create these into actual favorable action items. Users don't want to actually have the headache of post-processing their transcript they already ingested from that tool they used. In fact, they just want to know what they need to do fast and quickly. They don't want to be reading another sea of text similarly to hearing a sea of audio. And so what we should do is give one condensed summary and some action items on what to do. And that, I think, is the best use case of an audio transcription app where users don't need to worry about the text they read afterwards, especially for very long audios. And it just tells them what they need to do. Because not only are you solving the problem of converting audio to text, you solve the problem of reading the whole thing after and condensing it down, which saves the user way more time that they can spend to actually achieve whatever they wanted to do or need to get done. Now that we've identified plausible idea, how should we actually build this out? Now, before we actually go into building this out, we should first structure this a bit more, what our app should do. So, going more into this, our app should obviously transcript audio. And actually, one more thing we can actually do before we go to the app is we can once again niche this down again. You see, now that we've niched this down into a sub-niche, I'd like to say of now, this is the transcription tool that gives you actionable items to work on rather than doing a regular text and summary. We can niche this down for who this should be for. So recall that this subreddit ChatGPT linked us. The first comment is talking about how they're a therapist and they use this. What if we did the same thing where we copy that, but instead of therapists, we could do something for lawyers? You see, lawyers have a lot of time that they need to dedicate and spend reading and listening to court hearings and stuff. And so what if we just keep that for them and give them what our app does with our action items right away, straight to the chase, and they get to work on what actually is meant for it. Now, with this new niche, we need to be careful because it is in, the legal niche, and we need to make sure what our action items actually suffice that the lawyer is looking for. You see, lawyers might be looking for other things, and if we skip an entirety of sections that actually contain useful information that they might be looking for, then that is actually, a bad look on our product, and our product is not doing what the lawyer deems it should be doing. And so that is something we need to be really careful about. But now we can go on to our actual app building. So we are building an app that transcripts audio. So now our app is transcripting audio for lawyers into favorable action items. So what our app needs to do is it needs to transcript audio, detect favorable actions, and then lastly, we can add integrations. So this is something like with the Google Calendar, meeting tools, other stuff that lawyers might be using that they would like to incorporate our transcript tool into their workflow in their day-to-day cycles. And so now that we've defined what our app and our idea is actually going to be, well, let's get started on building this app. Now, the primary gimmick is going to be the transcription and in the audio in itself. So we're going to be using an AI model for this. Reason why is because we want to make sure we depict really high accuracy. And so as a result of that, it allows us to detect these favorable action items with the AI making inferences. Perfect. So what I'd like to do next is, before I do a bit more research, I'm going to dump this all into Claude Code as our initial project setup. Okay, so I've inputted the prompt to Claude. I've told it we are building an AI transcription audio that uses a precise algorithm or API to convert audio to text with precision and accuracy. However, this is not just a regular transcription app. This is a transcription app that summarizes the page loads of text into actionable insights and items that users can note right away, skipping reading the whole thing as well as a condensed summary provided to it. Not only do we do that, but our app is specifically for lawyers. So let's just create a brand new GitHub for this. So I'm going to head over to GitHub and I'm going to create a brand new GitHub. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to create a new account. I'm going to create lawyer transcription app. Awesome. So I'm going to make it public and I'm going to make this, MIT. So anyone can use this and it's fully public. So you can see, not a README, but whatever. So we've created our repository and now I'm going to send over our prompts. So I'm actually using Claude on the web right now. And so it's going to set up our Cloud container and I've basically given it what we need. But while Claude does that, let's take a look at transcription apps. So 11 Labs already has its transcription. Happy Scribe has their transcription, right? In fact, they have a free one. They claim 99% accuracy. And so they already have a free one, right? We can record our audio and it'll transcribe it. And so one of the things I also wanted to talk about in regular, building products is you might see in the middle of you building your product, you might see coincidentally some product that does something similar or straight up the same thing as yours. And you should not take that as demotivation and discouragement, but actually as encouragement that people are actually entering the same market as you in a similar problem users are having that they are also trying to solve. So not only does this serve as validation, this serves as actual proof that users are willing to use something like this. And if we go one step further and beyond by replicating this idea and adding a twist and niching it down specifically for lawyers, that creates, these serviceable, actionable items. I like how Claude has highlighted these, right? We make it more unique and we stand out where in a regular transcription app, you're going to have to compete in SEO. And as a result, something that's a transcription app, you are going to, that's going to be used primarily as a quick search up as a tool on Google. You're going to need to make sure that your SEO is pretty good. And so as a result, we want to do something that niches down, right? So lawyer transcription app. We niche down way more text service for lawyers, but we also do lawyer transcription app that creates actionable insights for me. Now, people might already be doing this, but that doesn't matter. You see, I don't see any tools right away that are for lawyers and give me what I need to hear, right? It might summarize it, but does it give me, the actionable insights with obligations and deadlines? Do you see how now when we niche down way more, our SEO competition now becomes way less? And if someone were to use an actual key phrase like this that is similar to what our app does, we would rank way higher than in a sea of regular transcription apps. So that is the whole point I'm trying to emphasize here. That is the reason why this idea was good as a product, but just really hard to market and distribute in a sea of transcription apps. So we niche it down into one gimmick we provide and then niche it down once again for who should be using this app. And so let's take a look at what Claude has done. Recommended. So it's going to be the recommended. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to first research. You see, it's providing the Whisper API from OpenAI. And I want to really make sure that whatever we're using is the trade-off between cost and precision and accuracy is the best it can be. So I'm not too worried about, what we use for our app setup with Next.js and maybe React or whatever. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. The whole point is the product at the end of the day. And for summarization, I think that this is not too much of a tedious task. I think Sonnet 4.6 can perform this relatively well because it's quite powerful at almost the levels of Opus 4.5, I believe, but with fewer less token costs. So I'm going to quickly ask Claude that, and then we're going to get straight into building this. So as a result, this is why you shouldn't just blindly go with AI. You should be really researching what it provides, right? Do not be over-reliant on AI in general and think that the best thing they provided is probably the best suitable option. I've gotten it to actually research a bit, and we can see that we're not going to do any self-hosting, but I just want to take a look at these more in depth. So I'm just going to paste this right into Google, and we're going to take a look at this. And so Whisper is from 2022. Yeah, so OpenAI Whisper would actually be not the best for accuracy. So I'm looking at specifically costs and accuracy. I want the best between both. And so I think OpenAI models, I think what we should be using specifically between DeepGram Nova 3 and the other one, which was Assembly AI Universal 2. So you can look at the benchmarks. We can see that. So apparently on their benchmarks, they tend to do better than DeepGram. However, benchmarks, so this is for accuracy. So I think for this, I'd actually believe, but if you didn't know, a lot of these models, when they come out with their new models, a lot of these tests, they run like software engineering bench. A lot of them are quite misleading in the fact of how the test is conducted. So I think we should use this. I'm going to quickly see the cost. Is there any cost on this page? I think we're going to go with Universal 2. It is a bit more expensive, but just barely almost. However, I think for the best experience, we should be using this model right here. Okay, it looks like Claude has fully finished basically building the core feature of, summarized insights as well as, obligations. So we have our action items and the tasks with priorities. We have deadlines, we have risks, parties, obligations, key quotes, open questions. And so we also have parties. So this is very important, right? In a real court hearing, you have a plaintiff, defendant, opposing counsel, especially maybe even with depositions and regular witness hearings. You need to be able to identify which person talking, match their voice with the position. So this is how you have the use case. And so basically it's finished building the app. Now, we have a pull request here. And so basically we've built the app. Now, I'm not going to be able to actually test this stuff, but Claude is going to start doing audio, other features like audio playback with click to jump from quotes, utterances. As you can see, we've come up with a potential prototype that you can use. The reason why I'm not going to build the full thing out is because you're going to actually have to connect your API keys with specifically Assembly, not Nova, sorry, with Assembly, and then your Anthropic models for Sonnet 4.6 for doing condensed summaries. This repo is open source, so you can take a look at it for yourself. If you want to take this app even further, you can just clone or fork this repo, build it with, your coding agent like Claude Code, Codex, and then just go from there, monetize it as a SaaS. It's literally open source for you. The idea is right there. Lawyers might need this. Verified it, we've niched it down, we've done this whole thing. I'll link both these, the Excalibur and both the GitHub in the comments. You can literally take what Claude has done and just build from there onwards into a fully fledged out SaaS product that you can then monetize for maybe like $15 a month or something, right? So I'm going to let Claude finish up the last bit of this, and then I'll close it out there, showing what the GitHub contains and how you can use it to build your SaaS product. Claude has finally finished building the transcription summarizer. And so basically he's added the audio playbook, quick quote to evidence, saving it as a PDF, local storage persistence. So if you run this locally on your device, you can have it. So when you refresh, it doesn't just destroy the transcript. You have reanalyze, disclaimer, and then, finally some more stuff. So basically this has been merged onto the GitHub. So I can just go right here. We have a merge requests on our GitHub. And so basically all we have is the files with, the summarizing the app. You have the actual audio player, audio upload, Assembly AI. And so that is pretty much it for this video. I hope it was useful on how we came to decisively coming up with this app idea. Again, if you want to really turn this into reality and monetize it into a potential SaaS, go ahead. The GitHub is open source, right? MIT license. You can do whatever you want with this. You can do anything you want with this. Go ahead and build this out. It's public. So I'll link both of those stuff down below so you can go ahead and check it out for yourself. So that's basically it. So I hope this was insightful for you guys.